You're listening to Real Talk live streaming right here on Facebook and YouTube. We have multiple streamings going out there, and if you could like and share the page, I would appreciate it. I've got a very special guest and a good friend, longtime Floridian, I think, Mr. Chris Morales. How many years? I got to throw it out there because it's been forever, right?
With my agency, yeah, 20. I'm in my 26th year with Northport PD, but born and raised in the great city of Northport. Born in Port Charlotte, raised in Northport.
So there is someone from Florida that's still here, right?
Yeah, yep, homegrown.
Homegrown. That's awesome. So, you guys had a little fundraiser happen over the weekend. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that was about?
Yeah, so the Northport Police Officers Association held its inaugural very first gala event at the Westin up in Sarasota, and it comprised of all local businesses in the community, and helped raise money for the Northport Police Officers Association. It was a phenomenal event. I think Captain Fussell and the NPPD board just nailed it as far as a great time, a great event. I heard nothing but positivity out of it. People were looking forward to the next gala, which is going to be in October of next year, I believe. But what was also great was it brought businesses together that never met, never saw each other, and it got to be where it was a big networking on top of helping raise money through silent auctions and some giveaways through the association there that night. But from early indications and early talks, they're talking about that they've raised close to $70,000 that night through the foundation.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Great success for their first one.
Yeah, well, not bad for the first one, right?
Yeah, and it can only get better. Heard more businesses want to get involved. Heard more businesses want to contribute more when they saw the impact and realized what the Northport Police Officers Association does and has done to help officers and their families through tough times. Hardships and stuff. It was some video that they played that really, I can tell you, took me back, hearing from some of our fellow officers where some have lost their homes, some were having some financial issues, some were having some medical issues, and to hear their success stories to where, law enforcement officers are always one to respond to help someone. Never do they say, I need help, right? And they're not. Law enforcement officers are never ones to ask, right? They just feel like we are the ones that have to serve. So it's humbling to see that when we're all human, right? We tides can turn for us as law enforcement officers as well, and it's nice to see that there's someone or entity or association that's there to stand up and help fellow officers and family members during tough times.
We've been blessed. That we haven't had. Now our friends and neighbors down south in Charlotte County, they've had some incidences with police officers, but we've kind of been blessed here. How do we address the safety and security of our officers when they're out on the street and they pull somebody over? Is there not that I don't want to give away what you guys do, because there's some importance behind having that quiet too, but how do you guys go about addressing the awareness of the surroundings to your officers?
It's a great question. There's, you hear the term that, like you just talked, like a simple traffic stop. Well, first off, there's no simple, there's no routine. Oh. Every stop is different. You don't know what you're going to expect, and it's about officers being trained to be hypervigilant. Training, right? We learn from tragedy. We learn from our own training, and all you have to continue to do is train and be hypervigilant in what we do. That's why in law enforcement, officers they're constantly hypervigilant, John. I mean, if any law enforcement officer watching, listening, I can tell you right now, just if you go out to dinner, my wife knows where I sit when we go out to dinner, and she knows where I sit. My family knows how I sit, and it's always with me facing the door. Okay,
Always, always.
and any law enforcement, and that's just our upbringing of hypervigilant, of just knowing who's going, people watching, icon. It's just, that is our nature. We want to see something coming. Our approaches, how we do things on traffic stops, are fluent. They constantly change. Our approaches change constantly on the vehicle itself. So officers look for indicators. Officers look at many factors when on not just traffic stops, but any types of calls. We always think of the what ifs on situations, but unfortunately in law enforcement, when a suspect wants to do something or wants to take action against an officer, they always have the upper hand because the element of surprise is in their favor, not ours. So that's why officers are always hypervigilant in the job that they do each and every day.
And it's there's something about what you said early in that conversation, and I'll go back to it real quick, is that the positioning of yourself, one, in a known environment. I agree with you on everything you said. My dad taught me when I was 16 how to go into a bar, because back in the day, 3-2 beer was allowed and legal, and you were allowed to drink back then. So as I grew up, that my dad was a steel mill worker, and he took me into a bar on a Saturday morning after a gunshot. And I walked in and he said, "Show me what you do." And so I did. And he says, "Well, then go back to the front door." And he goes, "Now you got to look down." He goes, "You walked over the blood spot in the carpet." He goes, there was a gunshot here last night, right here in this hall, right in the doorway. And he said, "So now we're going to go in and you're going to learn how to go into an environment that will be packed at night, that you have no idea what's coming at you." And he said, "You got to find the exit, and you got to sit near the exit with your back to the wall, and always face forward to see what's coming. And if it's coming at you and you don't like it, duck and go." And he says, as long as you live by that rule, you'll be protected. So I have applied that rule to every place I go. And I'm very uncomfortable. Like you said, I'm very uncomfortable if I don't sit where I can see what's coming at me.
Yep.
And that just, it was ingrained, and parents need to hear that too, because teaching that in today's environment. I do a human trafficking symposium for CARE in January. We've got that coming up, and we have the different counties come in. We have FBI there, a great resource, but we're number 6 in the nation for snatch and go. And that's because we have access out at a lot of points. So paying attention to that environment is just not police work. That's citizen work too.
Yep.
And so I'm glad we're talking about that, because their awareness of your surrounding, awareness doesn't stop just at surroundings. You've got scenarios that play out with law enforcement all the time, that if you have a theft in your area, that just occurred over in our direction, and the officer came, the detective came and asked questions. Well, the night before, I had done some filming for the town hall meeting for Mayor Phil Stokes, and there was a mention of it there. So I redirected the detective back to the citizen who saw people at 4:00 in the morning with hoodies on walking down the street. So these things are important. If you see something and you hear something, call the police department. And if that were to occur, how would you want the citizens to react?
If they
needed to call in, what would they do?
Oh my gosh, call immediately. If you call, just to know, because sometimes what happens when people see something that's odd or misplaced and the person's walking, just call, just give a heads up. Don't need a call back. You don't need to follow up. We'll go check it out, because that person or something that's out of the norm might be something that we are already looking into and looking for. I can't tell you how many times that people have called that in and told us to go, oh, hey, that person matched the description who we were looking for that was doing other things or committing other crimes in this area. Now they're seen in this area. Something doesn't look right. I rather you all, if you get that gut feeling, just call. Let us decide if there's any merit to it or any, any concerns or suspicions to whatever that person may be doing. So let law enforcement make that contact. We're trained. We know how to do that. We know how to engage people, how to talk to people, let them dispel their concerns of whatever they may be doing. Let us do that. I'd rather you call than not call.
Absolutely. And no one really knows sitting at home what little tidbit of information can move things forward in an investigation either. So it could be the color of the sweatshirt. So as much as that is concerned, as an identifying feature. So always make that call, citizens of Northport and surrounding areas, and don't be afraid to get involved. Those are the things that keep us safer. You mentioned the 2020. I want you to go ahead and mention that now because I need to watch it, but we lived through that. But go ahead and mention that, and then I'm going to dive into that a little bit.
Oh, so yes, a few weeks ago, 2020 aired. Denise Amber-Lee back in 2008. It's called Life on the Line, but it's basically recapping the case of where Denise Amber-Lee was tragically kidnapped from her home, leaving her two beautiful children behind, Noah and Adam, and she was taken and she was eventually murdered and buried out in off of Toledo Blade, I-75. And there was a manhunt for Michael King, in which eventually he was located and stopped based on our perimeter shutdown of the entire city with multiple agencies. And he's on death row currently, and they just did a whole reenactment, and they did a great job 2020, and got to see Adam and Noah 17 years later, both of them, on television, talking about their mom and talking about their father. So it was a hero. So, and that they're proud of him. So it was a very touching and very, very good 2-hour episode of that entire case. And I can tell you, out of all of them, they pretty much were spot on. Out of all the series that we've done on that case, I have to take my hat off to 2020. They did a very good job on it.
Well, so I know you were here for all of that. Mm-hmm. And we have talked about this briefly in the past, but how should our citizens feel about today's police force compared to then, as far as if something were like that were to happen today?
John, that's a great question, because being the lead detective of that case has impacted me over these years, to where, the tragedy of that was, we as a law enforcement agency, not just Northport, as law enforcement as a whole, failed that day. And meaning that we were just always one step behind in trying to locate, using the technology of that time, the transition of 911 call from the border of Sarasota County to Charlotte County, the misdispatching of that call, all of those things factored in. It was a very sad and tragic case. So I look at the legacy and the strength of Denise Amber-Lee, who was a hero, taking her strength and going, she would want, not that we could change anything, is to learn from it, right? What are we doing to learn from that tragic day, that tragic incident, so that that incident would never ever happen to a citizen, a loved one, a mother, a daughter, a parent, anyone of that nature, to happen ever again. So throughout the years of waiting for technology to develop and all that has come to where I can honestly and truly say, with Chief Garrison and I, when he came in on 2018, it was basically foot on the pedal with him, us going and seeing St. Johns County on their technology, how they were using, the latest technology of the license plate readers throughout their city, where their crime rates went down by 50%. But more importantly, the bigger vision was taking all this technology and spreading it out through the entire city to where I can tell you between license plate readers and camera systems throughout our city, the advanced technology today that we have with our real-time intelligence center that we have been building since 2020 in the city. We've invested over $1.4 million in technology to where now agencies are coming here looking at how are we doing business here, and how the state attorney had come to our office, and we've had representatives come to our department to see our real-time intelligence center. Our solvability cases have just been phenomenal, to where, if to sum this up, John, if we were to take everything today that we've built in this city, take the Denise Amber Lee case, we take this technology and we go back in time and we drop it into 2008 and just hit replay. Just hit replay. Yep. And everything fold as everything laid out, how the information was gained, and we then apply all the technology we have today. I know in my heart, there is, without certainty, Denise would be here today. And that's what I continue to build on. That's my mission, my drive. Everyone knows that the Real-Time Intelligence Center here, Chief knows it, that this has been my passion, my drive into how to keep our community safe, how to keep our children safe, to where I can tell you right now, if God save us from such a day, if there was an attempted child abduction and someone just was able to give us a description of a vehicle that had some unique characteristics, we would be 100 times more reliable on identifying, locating that vehicle than we would be in 2008. Because as you know, when a tragedy, someone's kidnapped, a child or an adult in Denise's case, time is of the essence. For every hour that goes by, your likelihood of survival of that person becomes less and less and less. So time is of the essence. The faster we can get information, the faster our people can respond, and the faster we can try to apprehend the suspect and bring the victim to safety.
You know, you talked about and anybody who knows you sees that on your face when you talk about this case, and body language, everything portrays that. You know, I put you in the category, yeah, you're deputy chief, but you're coaching a lot of new people, not new people, but new police officers in our area. They could be from outside our area, never experienced it before. I know that this passion that you carry goes towards that family and all the other families that are affected by it. But how do you put this into perspective for the new people that are coming on board who haven't experienced anything like this here? How do you teach them to carry the torch?
You talk about it. Obviously, you got to talk about it and share about it, because that's how history teaches us, right? If anyone knows that history has taught us, and sometimes history can repeat itself, right? We always talk about that. So we learn from cases of what happened, why it happened, and how do we prevent that from happening again? Not just in cases, but actually in training. You know, we learn, an incident from another agency, whether it's ours or somebody else. If it happens, we sit down and we do case studies, we do talks. Our training unit does step by, goes over the case. And that's what you have to do with this new generation. So this new generation of law enforcement, Chief Garrison and I, we kind of sit back and laugh, because him and I, we both come from the same thread. Him and I are quite amazing, Chief Garrison. Him and I were both police explorers. I think we both grew up destined to be police officers. And I think that's where you see my drive and my passion and my love for not just law enforcement, the city I grew up in. I have family here. We have, right? So I have that drive, but we both have the same drive that we have for the love of the job. And this generation now, with this technology, it's quite amazing, because we look back and go, my gosh, back when I was a detective in 2008 and 2005, I started, it was when you wanted to find information, you had to dig for it. You had to go knock on doors. You got to go find a witness or hope for a witness. That was your biggest thing. Hope for a witness. DNA was just starting to come out, right? In those days, DNA was just starting to rise. CODIS was coming out. CODIS in the system of all convicted felons and do that sort. So everything was starting to rise on that. So where now I look at it and the technology we give, and someone just gives a description, and our analysts in our real-time intelligence center, and I'm telling you, they are rock stars in there. They type this stuff, they get the car identified, they get the time, they give it, they wrap it up in a bow, and they give it to the detective, go, here you go. I'm like, I missed out. I should have waited. I feel like I'm cheated. But it's a moment where you're going to see that it's going to get more, there's pros and cons. It's going to be more difficult for a criminal to come into our city to commit a crime. And I always talk about this, John. My drive for this, and I explain our commissioners, and I can tell you right now, we have a great leadership commissioners to support this drive in our city manager to continue this funding. Is that why do people come and commit crimes in your city, right? Why is there now? You have localized crime, right? Domestic violence and stuff like that. But I'm talking about the outside. Why do they come in? Why do they keep coming back, or why are they coming in? Well, it's the simple fact of risk versus reward. Yep. Right? If the reward outweighs the risk, they're coming and they're creating havoc and they're committing crimes and they're making it an unsafe environment. If the risk outweighs the reward, they're not coming here. They're going elsewhere. That's my mission. That's my drive. You come to this city and you try to commit a crime, we're going to capture you. We're going to take you to jail, because we have the tools and we have the drive, and we don't mess around here. Public safety is paramount, and public safety is number one in the city of Northport.
So we've had some pretty big drug busts in our community now, and one of the things that I've noticed on an extreme level, which is, I think, awesome, is that you're using social media and some signage to put people on notice. Keep the drugs out. You're not this house is closed, things like that. Can you talk about that unit? And I don't want you to go in depth on how and what and why, but because that's pretty self-explanatory, but there has to be some pride within that unit right now, because it seems like they're capturing some people that maybe weren't known to the rest of us.
It comes down, especially our narcotics team, which are a lot of people that are a lot of our officers, police officers here don't even know some of our narcotics detectives, because you don't know them, right?
Right.
It comes under leadership. They have a great sergeant. They have a commander oversees it that's had years of experience overseeing narcotics. Actually, our commander over our narcotics, Jeff Pasler, he's the president of the Narcotics Association for the state of Florida. We have the president of the Narcotics Association for the state of Florida in our agency overseeing it. So just tremendous pride, right? But it comes down to empowering your people to know what their mission is, right? They know the mission from us, the chief and us, is you attack, find the source, stop it, kill it. Meaning not kill it literally, but
correct.
Stop it. Okay. And push it out, get it out. If you can't stop it, push it out, put the heat on, turn the heat on. Right. So that's their mission. And they've been going nonstop. They've been finding great drug houses and suspects, and they keep building cases, and they're knocking it out of the park. And I can't be any prouder of the team and the narcotics leadership team there in our agency. So very proud of them. And again, it's our narcotics team, our detectives, our electronic surveillance unit team. It's all a team here, and they do a phenomenal job.
So you guys have got some really advanced technology now that you didn't have. I'm using some advanced technology now that I didn't have at my fingertips. So I can't even imagine how you guys are utilizing that to help keep our community safe. As a local realtor, I talk to customers, current and past, about this all the time, that they should go and check out their communities, make sure that they're in contact with the police department and find out the numbers there, and how that affects their purchase or their living area. And then along with that, the police department and the fire department are the same. You kind of want both of those protections in play as you're developing your plan for your family. You know, I know that we talked about this at the beginning, but I don't want to label us as the Cadillac. The gold standard is we are setting the gold standard in a lot of cases. People are coming here to look at our department. You talked about the Cadillac, so kind of blend these two things together so that.
So yeah, so we've been told that, you know, in looking into our agency, that we provide a Cadillac service or Cadillac agency. I take great pride in that, actually, because does our agency want a Honda or does it want a Cadillac? And, you know, that's what you're going to get. And I believe, you know, in a law enforcement, in a municipality, why does a city have a police department?
Protection.
No, okay, but why does a city have its own police department?
Well, we're a city. I mean, I go ahead. I guess maybe I'm not thinking about it in through that vision. So go ahead and advance my cause.
Yeah. So, you know, there's cities in the state of Florida that don't have their own police force. They're out to the county provides it. And I'm not taking anything from the sheriff's office saying that they don't have great police officers or deputies, excuse my language. Want to get them right because they always correct us. So they're deputies, but you know, they can provide a service. But municipalities have police agencies for two reasons. One, yes, obviously control on how they want services, but a police department for a municipality is also tailored to their community. It's what the community wants. So the community wants to pay extra for their law enforcement services, for their public safety to feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's why we have local police agencies, is because the community wants them and it's tailored to their community. And when you say we have a Cadillac services, because that's what the community wants, and that's what the community likes, and that's what the community demands.
Right.
And that's that. So I take great pride. I don't want to be in a city and someone says, you have a Honda police service. Well, that tells me that we don't care about our community. We don't take pride in our community. But when we're told that we have a Cadillac, I take great pride in that. And I'm proud of our agency. I'm proud of our citizens here in our city that support their local law enforcement. And yeah, I think that's a great statement.
Yeah. Well, so I want you to kind of highlight right now, are we at full staff, or are we still operating shorthanded?
So we are just about at full staff. I think we have 3 more vacancies in sworn. Our telecommunication, we only have 1 vacancy. So we are at just about full capacity, which I don't think I've said that in many years.
That's amazing, because we've been providing the Cadillac gold standard of service shorthanded.
Wearing many hats. Yeah. Very taxing on employees. But again, it's the love, it's the passion, it's the drive. You know, like I told you, we have performance measures that we provide to, that are provided to us every month through a comprehensive police services overview that we have, that's provided every month to us, that we go over and we look at our calls for service, our call stats, our response times to calls. We look at our priority 1 call response time, which means in progress calls. And, you know, that's the one I take a great significant focus on, because that's where that really shows that we are understaffed in response times, because A, we don't have as many officers on the road at any given time, and B, we have very large zones. So span of control of an officer's coverage is very large. And until we get more officers, where we can put more officers on the streets, shrink those zones down so that officers can be confined to a more area of patrolling, we'll see those numbers of, you know, I can tell right now, if you have an in progress call, whether someone's breaking into your home or an officer's in the fight of his life, which I've been involved in, I can tell you right now, we're at 7.5 minutes is our average.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty high. Okay, we should be probably at 5 minutes.
Oh wow!
So our standard is 5. But if you think about it, if you have an progress call, someone's breaking into your home and you need help, 7 minutes is a long time.
It is a long time.
And I can tell you right now, being in a fight with someone struggling, calling for backup, and saying on the radio, or actually not hitting the emergency button on your radio because you don't have the ability to speak, and you're fighting with a guy twice your size with another officer who is unable to speak as well because we're just fighting. Officers were there in 3.5 minutes. We thought we were fighting for a lifetime. We thought it was 10 minutes. And actually, when we were done, we were like, why did it take you all so long? And like, dude, we were here in 3 minutes. We felt like it was 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, when you're under attack, I think the clock stops.
It does. But, and again, these are performance measures. So we strive to be the best. And we always look at how can we be better? How can we be more efficient? How can we be more effective? So we're constantly evaluating using data, seeing where our weaknesses are, seeing where our strengths are, and we continue to improve on that here in this agency.
So we had a couple of people like the page already, Darren Parent and Joe Newman, who does his own podcasting right here on CBRA and live streaming and is trying to do a lot of AI stuff and really getting it out there. But we had a business here locally, and I'm quite sure you know who it is. Zio's 1221 Pizza. They're say again.
We go there all the time.
Well, you know, there's something to be said about the businesses that are following this and two, staying involved when they see the police department actively interactive with the community, because that's what this is community engagement across the board. I see you guys out, whether it be Alvaro's or Pink Tequila or wherever. Can you talk to the community about why being seen in those restaurants are of value to the owners themselves?
Oh, sure. It's well, for one thing, it's home, right? It's our home. It's our businesses, and giving back to our businesses, putting, appreciate that they're there, right? But it's family oriented, right? It's family guy. We go to our local businesses. We appreciate their local business. They always feel safe. They love it when we're there. And the appreciation that we get from the businesses being there is remarkable. And I can tell you there's members in our department now that come from different agencies across this country, and they're taken back with the support, the support of the businesses, the support of the communities, where these guys are like, I've never gone to lunch and had someone pay for my lunch before, and I don't even know who it is.
Right.
People are always, trying to, pay for an officer's, food or drink or whatever. And we try to pay it back forward, and it's so humbling, but that's what gives the drive to officers to know that they're appreciated. And especially the ones that are coming from these other states they were just like, why didn't I a very common line, I should have came here sooner. I should have came here sooner. Right.
And that the whole thing, when it comes down to it, you just connected what I was talking about earlier with Amber Lee, is that you've got new people coming in from all over the country, really. And you bring them into the community. They haven't felt that, and they got to deal with the other. Well, they felt the other a lot of times, but now they're connecting to our community on a totally different level than a lot of the places they've come from. And then it's the give back programs. It's the Joe Fussels of the world who are out there engaging with the nonprofit organization you guys have, and really pulling the police family together to take care of the citizen and the family within that. scope. Can you kind of talk about the value that you see over like a 30 or 90-day time frame of a new police officer coming into our community that you felt that change, or even you saw them or they talked about that change? Can you
Like
kind of
a person with experience or a new officer you're talking about?
kind of both? Because you can affect a police officer that comes from a community that has 10 years experience and never felt this before.
Yeah.
Just like you can have a new officer get out of school and come in and think this is normal. Because it's not. It's I wish it was, but we're different.
There's a good balance, because there's officers. It's good to bring officers with an outside perspective than just hiring, here and they've been here and know nothing more than just Northport, because sometimes you take things for granted of what you have, of what you're doing, right? You may work 4 or 5 calls. I'll give you a perfect example. You may work 4 or 5 calls today as an officer, right? And go, oh my God, it's too much, right? But then you hire an officer, let's say from, New York, okay, which we have several of them, okay? They come here and they handle 5 calls, right? And then this guy's going, oh my God, can't he, like, listen, are you kidding me? 5 calls? This is the famous line, and whether it's New York, Tampa, Lee County officers, Cape Coral, their call volumes that they were having compared to us, they would go, listen, we would come to work with calls holding, okay? And they would go home with calls holding, meaning it's endless, it's nonstop. So, and when you bring these other officers that come from the other side of the fence and they come here, they're very humble. And then they bring that balance to those people that don't know any different. And they say, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you where I came from. Let me tell you what it is on the other side of the fence. So it's very good to bring them to understand that where not only culture, but workload twos and volumes of calls, because people think that we have a lot of heavy call volume here. Well, you know what? I can tell you a story where other officers come from and you don't know what call. So we have a great call volume, but nothing for when other people came and they were just going call to call, call to call, call to call, and went home with, calls holding. So it brings a good balance to people that never experienced and have been outside of Northport, just to be humble of a great agency, a great city, and a safe city.
So I want to talk a little bit about Price Boulevard, because we've had some interruption of flow. How has the police department analyzed? I've talked to Chief Titus about how they've analyzed their stuff and other chiefs within the department and had them on. But how have you guys broken this down? Because that's a major thoroughfare that is now limited access into it because of the major road going through, which is Price Boulevard. How have you guys handled those adjustments, and have we maintained a adequate call time, or are we struggling with that?
So we're different. Law enforcement is different than fire. So
Correct.
They're strategically placed out in their houses throughout the city, stations, and our guys are mobile, right? So they're in their zones, they're out in patrol. So the good thing about the waterways, the waterways really do break up our zones. So the impact for us was minimal. What concerns me is that when those officers are calling for backup, there's only so many parts of, artery roadways that we can get to. And thank God, they made an emergency access over behind the GMAC for law enforcement use vehicles only, that could help us, shave some time off in the event of a priority call, or if an officer needs backup that is desperate need, right? So that helped us out. So we're a little better than they are. We just had to make adjustments, some minor adjustments, but all in all, we're always out. We're spread out through 8 zones throughout the city, and we probably had a very minor impact with that Price, being shut down, because our mobility is still there with the emergency access, and of course 41 and the interstate.
Yeah, you've got, that I'm glad you clarified. I knew the difference between the two, but to hear it coming from you, and also the access point for emergencies, uh, that clarifies a lot for the citizens, that the planning for this wasn't just, hey, we're shutting it down. It was very thought out, and you guys are all communicating within the city hall family as far as getting this done, because I'm sure that Public Works was involved in that you were
100%.
involved in that, that commissioners are involved in that. Everybody's communicating with each other correctly.
Yeah, 100%. You don't snap your finger and that comes. I mean, we've sat down, and when we found out that there was no way to, when this bridge had to be rebuilt, that there was no way to have through traffic. So myself and Fire Department Chief Titus, Nick Hurley, Chuck Speak, and Tricia Weisner, all of us in the team sat down, and we had meetings to figure out what is the resolution to this, because there is no way we cannot use 41 and I-75. We got to have a cut through somewhere. And the team came up with a location, a spot, an opportunity, and it worked out. So great job, team working together.
There's something to be said about having a staff at City Hall that it has an abundance of experience, that not just looks out for us, the citizens, but I don't want to kind of blend this away from the citizens, because all these decisions are based on protecting the citizens, but it's the ease of use for you guys, the first responders, that finding solutions, it's not easy sometimes, and you guys work through that, all the ifs and wants and needs, and you check mark all those things. But having that experience at the staff level, how did that influence some of this with the communications? The people that you just spoke of, the Tricia Weisners, the Chuck Speaks, and all of them, they come to the table with a lot of experience.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, everybody at that table had a different approach to an idea of how to solve this, right? And then, of course, at the end was looking at available land. And I can tell you right now, even the city continues to forward think of the future of how do we add more connectors to major roadways throughout the city, as versus just using Price, I-75, and 41. And Chuck's team and them continue to purchase land, whether it's on the waterways from Salford to Cranberry, from Cranberry to Chamberlain, on the north side, on the south side, for future bridges of connectors. That's going to be huge, and that can be a real great game changer for the city, because it is desperately needed for infrastructure through our city. And they continue to have meetings on that, and they continue to identify these areas to have connectors. But it was, you're talking about institutional knowledge there between Titus and me, knowing the city, Trish Weisner, who's amazing at forecasting or critical thinking of things, and Chuck, again, just another amazing person, is like, how do we fix this? How do we resolve this? We felt like a bunch of doctors operating on a patient. That's really what it came down to.
Well, and having this conversation out loud, we've done these when Northport Forward was around and they were doing their community involvement. These are things that the citizens really need to hear. With our working class that's out there today, I hope everyone that's listening right now will like and share the page. This is what we do once a month. We kind of dive into different topics. We've talked about drone units on this live streaming. Can you highlight some of the things that you feel about our drone unit and how that's affected what you do as far as policing?
Yeah. I guess the drones are I think they're a great asset, more than ever, to what we do day to day, as far as when we need an overview aerial site for a missing person, a wanted subject. Just the other day, the fire department had a structure fire in a commercial building under construction. And we were able to get the drone up to get some aerial footages for their command post. to give them up-to-date feeds on that. We keep at least one drone per squad on a shift, where we have an officer who's also a drone pilot through the FAA. And I can tell you right now, they can deploy and be up quickly if we have a missing person, a project lifesaver incident, if we have any type of mass event, whether it be hurricane, natural disasters, anything of that nature. Our national night out, we had drones up in the air overseeing. We had a missing child that the parent couldn't find, and the drone unit was out scanning, looking for the characteristics of that costume, or not the costume, but what the child was wearing. And then we had another one. That's why I say the costume of the Halloween event. They were up again in a drone of a kid who went away from their parent, and we were able to locate them through teamwork and using the drones in identifying and finding the missing child.
Well, and you know, we didn't have those a few years back. How long have we wrapped our arms around that technology and really changed what you were used to in policing?
We started using drones, I think, in 2019 or 2020. We were probably the first, pioneers of exploring using drones. Chief, again, we are just always technology driven. We always tell that to our commissioners that when we do our presentations, we're technology driven agency. We're looking in the future. We're seeing the best practices. We're applying them. You're going to see here in the future to where drones, first response, to where there'll be drones and pods in certain areas throughout the city, strategically placed. And when we are backed up on calls, our real-time intelligence center or even our dispatchers will be able to deploy a drone from a strategic location throughout the city, fly over to the call by just hitting a button, pin dropping the call. It flies there. It assesses the scene, the situation, can either give up-to-date information or dispel any concerns that may be arising from that type of call, and able to fly back and return to its pod. That's going to be the future here with this agency. There's a couple of agencies starting up in Florida. We're right behind them. But again, that's us, Chief and I, going to conferences, sitting in classes, listening to tutorials of what agencies are doing and best practices, and then bringing it back to here, saying this fits here, this applies here, this is what's best for our agency, especially being 104 square miles. If we can get the upper latitude of having some aerial oversight and response times here, that's to our advantage.
So I'm going to throw another name in the mix that's not connected to the police department, but I'm going to circle this around here real quick. We talked about Tricia Weisner. We talked about Chuck Speak.
They're both rock stars, by the way.
Yep, Lana Ray.
Lana Ray. Yep.
And I'm going to throw one more in there, and that's Mr. Frank Lama. And if you take everything that we're talking about, and you take recycling, you take the police department, you take the fire department, you take the inner workings of everyone at Public Works and City Hall in that combination, there's a lot of pound-chesting bragging that our city and our citizens should be doing, because we were never looked at like we're looked at today. We are setting a standard across the board, and that starts at the top of leadership, and then it filters down. And as you talked about, it's a game changer when you have leadership that says, yes, let's look at that, because there's expenditures, but the cost savings to a lot of these things, or life-saving measures that come with these, they're critical, aren't they?
Oh my gosh, absolutely, they're critical. And I can tell you right now, all those people you named, Frank Lama, I need to rub that guy's head for good luck, because he's so good at what he does. But first off, that's an all-star team you just mentioned. Yeah, total all-star team, because they have passion, love, and drive for this city and what they do. A great team. I'd put them up against any city team in comparison for the love and passion of what they do. Tremendous team. But again, just to segue in what you're saying about people seeing the city now, what we're doing. When you have, at the gala you talked about, you had the state attorney come up to speak, and to the audience, he spoke about the city of Northport to where he came down and visit. And again, talking about our real-time intelligence center. And he said, I've never seen a facility or a technology or a center that's driven in solvability in the technology you guys here in solving cases ever seen before. He's like, hats off to what Northport is doing, saying it in front of our mayor who was there, and Commissioner Petro, I think, was also there. But he spoke, and that right there to me is putting Northport on the map. Is putting Northport on the map
the right way.
Yes, the right way. In Northport, I always said this as a kid growing up, and I looked at Northport's was a sleeping giant. It's not a sleeping giant anymore. The giant is awakened. It's continuing to grow, and I don't think it's going to stop by any means. You have, listen, how many years did we go, John, begging for a hospital? How many years? How many years did the city beg for a hospital, right? We wanted a hospital,
Let me tell you, Peter Bartolotta right now is sitting somewhere going, I told you so. Because and now it's coming in droves.
Now there's talking about a hospital here, a hospital over here, a hospital. It's like it's amazing, right? It's just boom. But those are igniters in a city that you need, the Atlanta Braves, right? That's an igniter for the city, a great flag. When you say a proud thing to say, we're city of Northport, we're home the Atlanta Braves, right? That's something to be proud about. To have Sarasota Memorial Hospital be building a hospital here, it's just a very proud moment. Excuse me. We're a growing city. We're not a sleeping city anymore.
No, we have it's been a long 25 years for me to watch it happen and develop. When I moved down here, we had Winn-Dixie and Publix and Wendy's at the corner, of course, McDonald's, and we had Sumter that was 2 lanes. Our city is changed, and it's taken a vision. And I was talking to one of the commissioners today, and through a forward-thinking lens, this backwards thinking, you can't do it anymore, because times back then, they were making decisions on what they had to do back then. We're making decisions today differently because our infrastructure is changing. A lot of it needs to be addressed differently than it did 10, 15 years ago, because our waterways have to be addressed differently. The technology has changed, and that affects what you guys do.
So yeah, being here all the time, being here for all my life, and seeing and hearing that, yes, they were making decisions back then for them at that moment. A lot of people don't look about making decisions, and I shouldn't say all commissions didn't do this, but making decisions for the future, right? Or you know what, let them worry about it down the road. Sometimes we have to pay for now in order to get for what the future needs, and some people just they don't like that. They don't want that. They shouldn't have to pay for the future or invest in the future, and that becomes a challenge into the city itself. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody looks at things different. But the citizens here have to invest for the growth and development of the future, because it's coming fast in leaps and bounds here. So we have to have that forward thing, and we're going to have to make tough decisions in the future for the city to grow, because there's people here that I've heard and read about saying that they don't want to see they came here because of all the trees in the city, right? And granted, there was when I was here, that was all there was trees. There was hardly any houses, but there were also all these vacant lots in commercial. It's eventually going to be developed, and eventually it's going to grow, and hopefully it doesn't grow to a point to where it becomes like a too busy of a city to where you can't get from point A to point B in the city without spending 30 minutes to get from point A to point B. But it's a growing city, and it's going to continue to grow, and it's not going to stop. And I've been waiting for this to see this. I wanted to see Northport blossom and Northport evolve. And it's proud to see that happening.
So I'd like to do something, and I didn't talk to you about this, but you brought it up a couple times. I've done the drone units and stuff, but the unit you were talking about, the technology unit,
electronic surveillance unit.
Yes. So I would love to kind of get some interaction with them and have this conversation and dialogue with them. I'm going to do a on the spot with our sewage plant. I would love to do something on location with you in the very near future. That is a game changer, not only for you, but even this type of information out to the citizens, because I don't know that they and I don't I know that they don't truly understand everything that goes into policing or fire or sewage or the whole working of our government as a whole. So I'm focused and driven on that side of it. You talk about the drive and the loyalty of your people. Chief Titus talks about his. We already named numerous leaders within City Hall. I think everybody's really trying to push the envelope of information out and protection as and not just protection as far as everybody's safety. That's even beyond that. But I think what's lacking here is the fact that we're 100,000 people, and while we know we have the police department, we know we have great fire, we have leaders in City Hall. A lot of us are working full time, and we don't have time to figure it out. So some of these things on social media that we're doing now, and the communications team, whether it be the police department's communications team or the fire department's communication team or the City Hall communication team, they're all really working hard to get this content out to the citizens to try to, I guess, change some of the narrative of disconnect. How do you feel about what I just said, and what has been your approach to try to connect to the citizens through police department?
I think is like you said, the social media platform is big for the police department. But what's also big is actually the holding the community events is big, right? Getting them to come, your coffee with a cop, your pizza with the police. We go to HOAs if they invite us, we go there to speak. It's all of those. Our community policing unit, our community, bringing people the ice cream truck, getting people to approach us and coming in. It's like, don't come to us, we'll come to you type of thing. That's what's really important is to bridge that conduit, and holding those events like that, are important, and we love it because it's endless. The National Night Out was a great success, even though it rained a little bit. It was still a great turnout. We get to engage with people at the Halloween events, which was, I think there's probably 8,000 people that went to the Halloween, trunk or treat at the city, which the city just rocks. What's funny is, I want to segue into that. I've heard this many, many, many times. People were in those lines going, where we came, listen, it's more than once. Where we came from, they've never done anything like this. Like, it's crazy, cities. Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So you hear that, and it's a proud moment, right? And that was being said. I've heard that so many times from citizens walking by going, this is so cool. This is our first time here, where we came from. Very constant repeat of different families coming here for the first time, coming to that event and saying those exact words.
Well, that's fantastic. And I just looked at the clock, and I can't believe we've chewed up an hour and
a
little over an hour.
We do this for hours.
Yeah, I know. So I want to thank you for being part of the live streaming. And as always, I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate our friendship beyond that. And there's something about giving back to your community. You guys do that. The citizens give back to our leaders by sharing this, asking them questions, engaging with them. Feel free and honored that they're going to engage with you, because that is the Cadillac, the gold standard that you guys have set which is let's break down the barriers and let's engage with the community. So thank you so much for all that you do in your time.
Thank you, John. And we'll work on next month. If you want our electronic surveillance unit team, we can see with getting with Sergeant Eastwood and one of his team members to even go on site if you want to see what they do and how they do.
Yeah.
Certainly work that out.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No
Citizens in Northport, hang in there. We'll see you next Monday. I should have a pop-up show coming on Friday. I'm working on that right now, so we'll talk to you soon. And if I have one on Friday, it will be posted on Facebook, and I'll, of course, share it with everybody I can. Talk to you soon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.